This is Too Long for a Voice Note, a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time, presented by Claire
and Enzo. Our podcast is produced in London. Some conversations are just too long for a voice note.
Hi guys, I'm Enzo and she's Claire. Welcome back to our amazing podcast. This is like a second episode of
Season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah, Season 2.
I'm like, so excited to be back.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, if you're new here, just a little bit about our podcast. This is a podcast about everything and nothing at the same time. We talk about trending things in the news and also issues in society that are going on, and we're trying to figure stuff out
Problematic
together.
stuff.
Exactly.
Fighting stuff.
Yeah, we hope that you join us along for
Yeah.
a conversation where we try and tackle big issues.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, check us on every single platform where you get your podcast. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. We are there, so it's good. We're also on YouTube. So if you want to see our faces, our little faces, sometimes for people it's easier to follow a podcast with a video because it's more entertaining. Also, to be honest, our videos are like cool. we have like now like inserts and cool stuff. So they're really
super cool,
entertaining as well. So whatever you consume it, you will enjoy it anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
And yeah, remember to follow us also on Facebook or Instagram. We always have extra content on Instagram as well. So
and if you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to give this video a big like because it really helps our podcast to grow and for more people to see it.
Yeah.
So like, subscribe,
share,
keep us up on the algorithm.
and recommend us to all your friends, you know,
all of them.
Give us some love.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're like, yeah. So yeah, no, guys, thank you so much for coming.
Thank
this
you.
week.
Yes.
To click, play, whatever you're doing.
So what are we going to talk about this
We're
week?
gonna talk about-
Who's
so
going to go first?
This is my time, right? To go first.
Enzo's secret topic of the week.
So yeah, this time I go first. This week I would like to talk about something that it's been very talked and popular on social media, I think since Thursday, and it's about Zac Efron. I don't know, like probably if you are our age group,
You mean 20?
early 20s kind of thing, probably you know who Zac Efron is. Is like, you know, like a superstar actor, like etc. etc. The interesting thing is he got really into like all this not controversy, but like a lot of internet drama this week, because some video of him popped up on internet. He's talking about something, I don't know what he's talking about, and his face looks totally different. I don't know if you've seen the picture around.
Yeah, I've seen a picture on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he had like some type of work done, like fillers, Botox. He looks different, actually.
He looks really different, yeah.
A lot of people were thinking at the beginning that it was fake. There was a filter because
okay.
the first thing that came out was a photo, like a screenshot of the video, and it was like around on the internet. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is fake," and then the video came out as well on the internet, and people were like, "Oh, this is for real! Like, why he did that to his face?" And you know, people were really like shocked about it because you know, Zac Efron is like this type of glorified beauty, let's say, in the sense of.
Heartthrob.
Yeah, everybody think that he's super beautiful, handsome, pretty man. So everybody look at him in a certain way, like men and women. So I think people were very shocked. It's like, why, if you are that beautiful, why you have to do that to yourself, kind of thing. So it went to all this typical internet stuff. People were like basically making fun of him, attacking him. And you know, like, I have to be honest, that my first impression was like, what the fuck? Like, he looks like a character of like he looks fake, like a plastic thing, and I don't understand why. So of course I will be like, haha, what the fuck is this? But the truth is, it's very sad because you know the internet always being the internet. Even though today is Saturday and still like a check on the trending topics, and still was on the trending topic thing because we're still talking about this, and he has to say something as well. Now the whole situation, what I found really like it's the same thing always about beauty standards and people, but I found it interesting this time because it's about a man, and normally we're used to see this with women, like whatever they do, however they look, if they're gay or lose weight, if they do something dumb, blah blah blah, it's being talked and people attack them. But for the first time in a long time, it's a man, and I found very interesting how people are reacting, and in a way I felt like people were even more ruthless because I think people are not expecting this from a man.
Yeah.
You understand, like,
yeah.
the point of it? Like, for a woman, it's like, oh yeah, maybe she got older and she got work done. Or, oh, she gained weight because whatever. Like, in a really fucked up way, from a woman is expected to go this uh aesthetic kind of like whatever like changes. But for a man, it's very like, what the fuck? Like, normally a man, they do nothing. They're not, because I think they're not expected to look in a certain way in many levels. So that was very shocking of it. And everything, the point is like, people were saying something I didn't know. Like, I think people that really like him, like fans and something, they were like, please, can you be more kind with him? Because I think he broke his jaw like a few years ago on an accident. So looks like he was having like certain surgeries during the time to fix his jaw or whatever. And also turns out that something I didn't know, he had like body dysmorphia.
Right.
He also has problem with I forgot the terminology. With the food, with
bulimia?
eating eating disorders basically. So it's very interesting that all this information is like surfacing now, because normally we're not men are not linked to that normally, because nobody speaks about that, because it's about always the focus towards women. And I find interesting that people were like, you should be a bit more kind, because even though he's the same thing we always talk, if he's famous and blah 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 and everything, he's beautiful, he's going through a lot of things, even though he looks like a perfect man in theory, like air quotes for what a lot of people think as a perfect man is. He has like body dysmorphia, he has like eating disorders, he has like things, so he's going through something probably, and that's why whatever reasons are, which are very valid, his face and his money, so he can do whatever, he went through this. So I find it interesting how like in this case was with a man, and how different it was. I feel people's comments and people were saying it was even more confusing than normally, because again, normally is towards a woman that we all put all this like but it was towards a man. So I think people were like, oh, weird, strange. It was like something that it's not common. And I think it maybe may open some discussions about how men also are affected by this type of things. I don't know what you feel about it. Like, first, I don't want to be superficial about it. Obviously, he looks weird.
He does look weird, and it's kind of like a shame in a way, because he is a good-looking guy, and it's clearly obvious from. I mean, I'll insert a picture for our YouTube listeners, but for our audio listeners, it's just like he's had a lot of fillers, I would say,
looks like
Botox, and it looks like a bad filter gone wrong kind of thing.
It's kind of like, why is the question?
A little bit why, but then it's actually not surprising to me in a way, and I think it's very interesting to hear the background of the body dysmorphia and eating disorders, because Zac Efron was a child star. Yeah. So of course, like, why would there be a difference between like a young girl and a young man?
Like
really?
Demi Lovato, for example.
Exactly.
It's
like
the same kind of like,
they were exposed to stuff probably quite young. He was this heartthrob, and there would have been a lot of kind of like pressure and influence on his looks, I'm sure. So in a way, it's not really that surprising. It's sad. It's very sad in a way.
Obviously, this is like a general thing, but I feel like men normally usually don't feel the pressure to do anything to their appearance in that level, because it's something more for women. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
So I feel like if this, what type of conversation this may open in many ways also for men, because like, I think obviously times are changing, and now everything is more like, let's say, on at least like how we look. Speaking of, like, everybody's more open to do stuff, but also because I feel it's a cultural, also celebrity thing. Like, it's very popular now to have like fillers, Botox, and the Kardashian culture and all of that. It's very like a common thing now. I feel like if you have a friend that has like some fillers, it's like, okay, it's a normal thing. Still, it's more normal with women, but I wonder if like how they would translate with men as well. I feel like getting more popularity or things like that, people will be like, I don't know, I wonder.
I think it's a good thing in a way that, if this encourages men to be more open to having those kind of conversation, then that's a good thing. I just hope that he's just not a kind of laughingstock kind of thing, which is probably how it feels. I feel bad for him, and I always feel really bad I was thinking of Renee Zellweger, she was one that she came out onto the red carpet one time and everyone was like, who the F is that?
She changed her
she
face,
just looks completely different.
Yeah.
But what do you expect? what do you
the
expect from
pressure
these
you
people?
have. Yeah,
Especially for women, and it's almost not surprising to me that somebody like Zac Efron would do something like, for example, it wouldn't really surprise me if. Well, I think, Johnny Depp, he's probably done something, right? Like somebody who, I mean, he's very young, Zac Efron. So I feel like, yes, of course, he's probably dealing with some quite heavy internal stuff.
I find very interesting how like the perception of beauty that we spoke about this in the past in the podcast, but like because you see somebody as Zac Efron and the first thing you say probably is why the fuck, like why he had to do that, like why from all the people in the world you will think they will do something to look similar to like a standard, like he was very far from that because he's already like
very attractive,
like a standard of beauty, like his type of face, body, like smile, eye is like cliche standard of beauty. So when you see he doing something like that, the first thing you say like, why? He was beautiful, he was perfect. That's what people will think, and I think that was the shock behind it.
But I
think it's difficult from outside to obviously like superficially talking like how he will do that, how he will like why he had to like
mess up his face,
mess
like
up
that
his
kind
face.
Of thing. But I think it's the opposite of that, because I think because he is our ideal standard of beauty, he has further to fall. And people love it when people fall. Like Renee Zellweger, like super beautiful, or like Nicole Kidman, for example, people who are idolized for being super beautiful. It's more expected I would expect them more to do something like that than somebody who has kind of like built a career on not only their looks. Not to say that those people that I mentioned have only built a career on their looks, because
it's a thing.
They're very talented as well, but it's actually not surprising to me. I view it as like the opposite, actually.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Also, I feel like it goes back again about like mental health and all of that. I mean, you can see the most beautiful person, let's say, whatever that means in the world, but you don't know what this person is going through. Completely. And I find so interesting and weird how humans we are, like, people saying like, oh no, why him? He's the perfect. And when probably he looks at the mirror, he doesn't see that because he has body dysmorphia. It's like, that's when you say like, oh, well, if this man has body dysmorphia, but that's the thing. It's not about how you look, if you have or not body dysmorphia. There's people that they will fit they will check all the things to look perfect for whatever it means. And they have eating disorder. Completely. And you were like, why? If you look perfect for what people think is perfect, but you can tell there's no relation. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, because that's why so many models, like beautiful women, often have really bad relationships with their bodies. And I think maybe that's the thing. And I would assume for somebody like Zac Efron, I don't know enough about him, but it's always been, he's such a good looking guy. Yeah. So there's always that. It must be a very strange thing to be so deeply connected with your appearance. Yeah. So no wonder why when like you start kind of hitting like your early 30s and you start to get wrinkles and you already have a bit of like body dysmorphia, or maybe he had this accident with his jaw, like of course he's going to turn to that. Yeah, it's just I find it so heartbreaking in a way. It's just proper sad.
It is, yeah. And but as you say, when you build, because the pressure at the end of the day for him is like he has his career around his appearance, as any like actor and singer, where sadly most of these careers are like around how they look and their appearance. So, and at the end of the day, like, it's true, he has that stigma. And I still, like, for example, I know he did like this documentary on Netflix I haven't watched yet.
About
I want to watch it.
In Iceland or something like that.
He was traveling the world.
I really liked him from that.
You watch it? I want to watch it, yeah.
Because I never really cared that much about Zac Efron because he's not really my type. Yeah. Or anything like that. But, and he's, I mean, I loved High School Musical, but aside from that, like, he's a bit of a like, meh kind of actor. Yeah. But I was like, one of my friends told me about that documentary. It's like very about the environment, and he goes around and kind of meets different people in different countries, and he's lovely. He is lovely. Like he came across anyway as a really humble, like good-hearted, like very eager to learn, no like bravado or anything. Like he just seemed like a very nice young man.
Like a very nice young man. Good job. But you know what I mean? On internet they were saying that a lot. It's like, stop going in for this poor man because actually it's like a really nice person, and then, he in theory he looks a lot for the environment. He always has like a good causes that he's following, he supports, and it's like, it's sad. Like, it seems that's how internet works, sadly. But because something so superficial, it's like only the good thing they talk they make him trending topic when he's changed his face kind of thing, but they don't make him a trending topic when he do all the good stuff they do, which is basically how internet is. Like always highlighted the worst thing, the absolute worst. It's like, but this person is actually like a really good person. Like, be a bit more like sensitive, especially when he has all these issues. Like
I know, but that's not how. Sadly, like, do you think that the internet is kind of a representation of like who we are, kind of?
Totally, yeah.
And that's scary if that's true.
It's scary because probably like if somebody doesn't know Zac Efron, and if we don't know anything about him and we see a picture, we're gonna just laugh at it. It's like, oh, he looks like a plastic can. Who's this person? We don't know, Is
plastic can?
Like a can. Well, like a plastic can is the only option to be a can, right? It's not like a real can. It's like
I was like, is that a phrase?
Like a... Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, like a can, like a plastic doll, I guess.
Yeah.
So, obviously, that's the first thing you will think because sadly, he looks a bit like that now.
Yes.
But it's sad, like internet goes this crazy and that mean towards something like that, and especially when you know the background. Anyway, I need to watch this thing from, the thing is, I didn't watch it back in the day because I was like, Zac Efron.
I was like that
he's
too.
Like, he's like a pretty boy, and I watch him I see him like around some movies, but it doesn't, I don't care about him. But that's exactly where it comes from. Comes from a place from me thinking like he's just a pretty boy. So imagine from pretty boy.
Shakira.
Yeah, like.
I think I find it really, really sad when people get so badly attacked on the internet. It really breaks my heart for some reason. Like Demi Lovato was the same. It's just like.
It's a representation of yourself,
be
us
like
as humanity,
that.
probably.
Isn't that horrible?
Yeah, it's shit, but that's what we are.
Well,
anyway, I want to know what you think
know.
about the Zac Efron thing. If you laugh about it, I want to tell you, I laugh about it at the beginning as well. I was like, what the fuck? But I was like, why? It's the same thing.
I think also if you were kind of surprised because he was a man, not a woman, we would love to hear your opinion on that as well.
I wasn't surprised about that. It's like, oh, this never happens with a man.
True.
It's very, very interesting. So yeah. So Claire, since last week we introduced this new thing, like we both have with our topics like 1 minute when the other one has to give us insight, recap, what the takeaway or whatever they felt from this topic. So kind of wrap up.
Little recap.
So I want to know what do you feel, what do you think, or whatever about this topic, or what you think it's important to remember as well. So you got technology, please help us. You have 60 seconds, no more, no less, to tell whatever you want to say about this topic or Zac Efron as well. So there you go. Boom.
Well, I would say that I really hope that, again, but this will never happen probably. The cynical side of me says this will never happen, but I wish that people would be a bit more soft on people, a bit more gentle, because you really don't ever know what anybody's going through. So I just wish that would be a reminder of that. I also really like the fact that this has potentially given men a space to open up about body image issues, because I think that's a very female thing. And of course men have body dysmorphia in a complicated relationship with food as well. It's not just a female problem. So I hope that gives men the space for those conversations to happen. Then
less than 20 seconds. 15.
What else? Skim us.
What do you think about Zac Efron?
And Zac Efron, I don't really know what else. I think those are kind of the main points, to be honest. Maybe we'll rewatch his little thing on Netflix about the environment.
Sure.
And
so it's about That's a good one, yeah. I think it's a really good point about the men being more comfortable talking about their issues.
I hope
because
so.
it's very for a female. If you're a man, you're not allowed to be that.
Well, it's that kind of same thing as well. Like you said, it's mental health. And just because it's a man, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have feelings or doesn't experience pain or anything like that. So hopefully men should, hopefully.
So Zac Efron, I hope you're doing well this weekend. Always remember, people can have money and a lot of good things and fame, but everybody suffers. So
exactly.
It's good to remember that.
Yeah, be kind.
Maybe we suffer more because we're poor, but
relative. I love that phrase that's very cringy on Instagram, but it's sprinkle kindness like confetti. It's free. And I'm always like, ooh.
Let me put it there. we need that confetti for sure.
Exactly. So I think it's time for
Claire's secret topic of the week.
Okay.
Oof, okay.
Are you ready, Encita?
I am ready, Clarita. I think I'm always ready for
Well,
this. What we're talking about this week? Tell me more.
Now, I
I'm
have to
excited.
say, I'm slightly apprehensive to talk about this because I really want to do it justice.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit nervous. So, just to say that.
I will tell you at the end. In my recap, it'll be like, you fucked this topic
You
up.
are shit.
You're shit. at
You're a
this.
bad
It's gonna be
feminist.
Like 60 seconds telling you you're shit.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Enzo does know this, but he doesn't know that I was going to bring this topic up. But I read a book called Regretting Motherhood.
Okay.
Motherhood.
I'm like...
So I read a book called Regretting Motherhood, which is
You
by,
told me
let me
about
just look up.
this book.
Yeah, but we haven't really spoken about it much.
No,
but
much, no.
it's by Orna Donath. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So just to give a bit of background about the book is a collection of stories. She is a sociologist. It's it's in Israel basically. Yeah. So she has never wanted to be a mother, and she's always come under a lot of criticism for that. Being a woman, and especially an Israeli woman, because that's a very big part of the culture. Yeah. And so this book is like a collection of stories, interviews, although it's all anonymous, with women who very, very much regret becoming mothers.
Wow.
And it's super interesting. Now, why did I want to read this? I wanted to read this book because I turned 30 last year. I know, it's a shock.
It may come as a shock for some.
I'll give you just a second to gasp. That's right.
Like,
no, 1990. I know. But anyway, so I turned 30 and I have always felt like I do want to be a mother. I would like to carry a child. Yeah. But I've never really questioned why. And I thought it was about time to read something about it from a different perspective, because I've always found that it's just a thing that you do, and people never really talk about the bad side or the darker side of motherhood, for example. So I thought, let me read something and adjust my opinion if necessary. Yeah. So I want to start by reading a little quote from the book. I'm just going to find it now. So,
with your best voice.
Women, especially those over the age of 30, are caught within a mind game of threats and warnings. Your time is running out for making a family. You may think that you're not interested in being a mother, but you're wrong. The desire will strike you eventually, but by then it'll be too late. You're going to regret this. So yeah, that's kind of the tone and theme of the book. So the interviews are really interesting because the women regret becoming mothers for different reasons. Okay. I think it's also, she makes a really, really big point of saying that the women, they definitely love their children. It's not like they don't love their children. Okay. They really, really do. But if they could go back in time, like hop in a time machine, they would choose not to become mothers if they had the chance again. Okay. So I kind of wanted to hear your opinion about it. I think that something that really bothers me in general about child rearing, and also, side note, marriage, which I'm saving for another podcast because I have very strong views about marriage. And so no. It feels like women are given free choice, and of course I'm coming at this from the position in society that I am in. I really, really understand that for some women, having a child is a survival mechanism. It's not a choice. They have to be a mother, whether they want to be a mother or not. But that isn't my reality. I have a choice. I'm a 30-year-old woman living in London in 2021. So I do have the choice whether or not to have a child. That being said, I don't think it's as free as that, because I believe that if I chose not to have a child, I would have to justify that, because I've already had to justify that to certain people in my life, so that's kind of what I want to talk about.
It's very interesting topic, and it's interesting from, I think, my side to say anything about this, even though I have my opinions, but at the same time it's kind of difficult because I can get the thing of like, well, you're not a woman, so
let it rip, Enzo. Let it rip.
Okay, like no. The thing is, I feel like, as you say, it's one of those things again that are very hard and complicated for women. I always feel, because it's true. If you choose to not have a kid, people will ask why, because naturally you need to have a kid because it's your like goal in life. And this goal, because I had conversations like with friends and people that I know, that women, that they feel that it's part of their like nature to have a kid, like it's like their purpose kind of thing.
Okay.
And if you don't do it, your purpose is not fulfilled, or you are not fully a woman, you know what I mean. And I remember this goes to this idea, just thinking about that. I remember like once, probably it was another podcast or a book, I don't remember, a woman talking about, well, what happened with women that can just have kids, you know, that they're not, because their bodies, they're not allowing them to have a kid. Or like a trans woman, which would be like another layer of it. But so there's some women that they can have a kid, and they're still women. That doesn't take away their womanhood, or whatever you will call it. And that's when it gets complicated, because you are validated as a woman when you have a kid. And I feel like it's so like complicated concept, because I don't think you need to like want it. You don't. Why is such like a task to do as a human? Like, you're a successful woman when you reach that. It's kind of like unfair, I feel, and it's so much pressure.
But it's like that complete double standard always. Like, you won't be less of a man because you probably won't have a child. You probably won't be a father. Like, it's not in your plans.
Yeah.
But I might be less of a woman if I choose not to have a baby.
Totally true.
And it's like, I'm sad because I'm single. You're like a bachelor or player because Enzo's single. Like, it's just complete unfairness all the time, and it really irks me.
Yeah,
it really irks me. Obviously, I think also one thing that I think people who choose to be child-free get, I would imagine, is you're selfish. You're selfish for not having a child. My argument would be like, you are selfish for having a child. Look at the hot mess that this planet is in.
Which is a point. Valid point
seriously,
of view.
Like, you have to really consider, and I think that's kind of what this book made me consider. I still do think I would like to be a mother, and maybe that is selfish of me. I think I have an added piece because I have endometriosis. So for the last few years since I had my surgery and found out that I do have endometriosis, it has been a journey of like, what if I can't have a child? Because it's not like I came off the pill, tried to conceive, couldn't. It's like, I know that there might be a problem. And I think, like, maybe I would adopt or something like that.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't make you less of a woman either. If
exactly.
You adopt a kid.
And it doesn't make a woman less of a woman if she can have a child and she just doesn't want to. Yeah. And I think that's what we really need to get okay with.
Yeah. I feel it's such a complicated topic, because at the same, I think if we're going to like, I don't think like everybody has the right to have a kid. I don't feel that that's how it should work. I feel that you need to have certain conditions and certain like good situations to bring a life, like a kid to this world, because it's like a really difficult war. It's not like before it wasn't. Always been very complicated, but why you will bring to this world somebody if you don't have all at least the minimum like meanings of ways to give the best to this person. I feel that's actually selfish, to bring to life a person to this world when they can have the best things, like from education, like health, whatever, love, blah 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 blah. It's many things that require that, and there's a lot. That's why I love there's a lot of problems in our society.
A lot of unhappy
people because they have like a really shitty like childhood. They didn't have education, which then we go to many other problems as we have in society, because you don't have education, you don't have proper nutrition, blah 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 blah. So I feel like, but for some people they're just like, oh no, babies are cute, so that's why I should have one.
Oh my gosh.
I hate that when the people say like, oh, they're so cute, I want one. It's like, well, it's not a fucking dog. And even if it's a dog, it's not like you just get a dog. It's like a commitment, which is really a big commitment. And I think you need to, I don't know. I just feel it shouldn't be for everybody.
But at the same time,
it's a bit like Nazi vibes. Like, you get it and you don't get the chance to.
Yeah.
I understand. But I think we're in this point right now, especially as we are as a humanity and as the planet and everything what's going on, that we should be more like mindful of these steps. And I think this is not being talked enough. It's not like, because I think it's a delicate topic and people don't want to feel like attacked, or like, because we have these conversations and like in group dinners, I have these conversations at work, and always everybody gets a bit offended or frustrated or like pissed off because they feel, because it's a delicate topic, but we need to talk about this because it's not like as easy. Let's bring new life to this world. Like it's more like pancakes, you know.
Exactly.
It's a bit more. What I think about pancakes?
It's a baby, not a pancake.
I
Like, we know what you want.
I never eat that many pancakes though. So it's like arepas.
Arepas.
It would be
No,
more
we don't
like,
need more arepas. But I think it's actually a good point what you said about kind of not having the financial means. Because one story that I found very interesting in the book that I mentioned, Regretting Motherhood, was this woman who is now, she's in her 70s. She's a mother and now a grandmother.
Wow.
So her kids are like in the 40s and then the grandchildren, etc. And she said like, yeah, maybe it was really tough bringing them up. So the husband didn't help at all.
Wow. Also a typical thing.
Exactly. And like she didn't have a lot of financial support, and another woman had a disabled child as well, and they both said like, yeah, maybe it would have been different if I'd had more money or if my child hadn't had special needs, for example, but that isn't what happened. So it was, so yeah, of course, maybe in like a parallel universe, but you need to be prepared for that. Like you could have a special needs child, or your relationship could break up. I mean, that's something that absolutely terrifies me, that I say all the time. Like, you don't know that your relationship's going to withstand it at all. Like, a child is a lot of stress in many different ways.
And that doesn't mean that you can't make it, because, you know, there's a lot of, like, single moms that they have the best kids. But it's a problematic... It not always goes right. Most of cases goes wrong because it's a big lack of a lot of issues, problems. So it's not easy.
Completely.
It's not like
a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, who I talk about this a lot, Laura, if you're watching, this is for you.
Hello,
we had
Laura.
this conversation. But yeah, like this problem, this thing of what if your child has really bad mental health problems? Like, what if your kid is suicidal, for example? Are you going to be able to deal with that? I always think it must be, I mean, I'm sure mothers will come at me for this, but I feel like it feels like it's all fun and games when they're a baby and toddler. Yeah. Teenagers, that's a lot. That's a lot.
You don't know where that's going. They
you
can
really
go
don't.
any direction.
And you don't know how your kid's going to be. So I think kind of the moral of the story is you need to really, really think it through. And it's not just like an arepa, for example. Like,
it's not going to shopping,
No, and there's so many different things to consider.
Do you really think the book really changed your view about like having kids?
No, not at all. But what it did, I found it very refreshing, because I don't think that women are given a platform in which to express those views. That's why I've never heard that. That's why I had to go. Exactly. I had to go digging for this information. Of course, I'm sure if you Google like, I regret having a baby, do you, secret forum? Yeah. Of course, I've never looked at that, but it was crazy. You know, the woman who wrote the study said that she had put something out on Reddit or something, and she had received death threats and said like, you're a sad woman, that you're going to be miserable, who will take care of you when you're old. That's another thing. Who will take care of you when you're old?
I hate that. Well, that's a fucking,
like,
I hate that. What's the one that I hate the most?
Is that a reason?
And it's a reason for many people. I have heard that so many times, because they don't want to be alone when they're old. Isn't that fucking selfish?
So selfish.
So you're bringing somebody to life just to serve you. Exactly. On your last days. Like, really? Like, what type of men? For me, that's why it makes me full of. My
experience of motherhood is always this dialogue. It's really hard. It puts strain on the relationship. I've not ever slept 8 hours ever. I'm 30 years old. My mum still says that she wakes up every single like 4 hours because she got used to like waking up for the baby. Like, I think I'll go insane. Like, her sleep has never gone back to normal.
Imagine, for some women.
But like, it's hard, etc. But it's worth it. It's tough, but it's so worth it. But because of course it's really hard. Like, it's a really bad thing to say. I regret being a mother.
It doesn't mean it's not worth it, because I do believe if you really want to have a kid and you are able to give all the love to that, of course you will do it, kind of thing. I mean, I will never understand that, because I will never be able to have a kid like procreate inside of me. So I believe this is like a next level of it, which is something I will never understand. But I understand like, it's worth it, because it's all your love in that person, but it's not all the cases. Some people just have a kid and they even love them, they don't even care about them, or it was a wrong choice.
I think this is the big kind of distinction that these women were trying to make, and I think it was so good of this author. Of course, she doesn't want to be a mother herself, but she does do a whole chapter of like, this isn't just me trying to get my like point across. It's about this, but they were actually trying to kind of say like, you can't say this without people jumping down your throat and saying that you don't love your children or you neglect your children. It was no, they love their children. They're all really, they do all of these activities. They give them everything they can. They, they're well loved and all of that, but they just didn't want to be a mother, but they didn't feel like they had a choice. And I think it's so vital that these things are shared. Really important, really. So I really recommend, if you're an individual who is thinking about becoming a mother, there's also a chapter in there called Where Are the Fathers, which I thought was interesting.
For sure, that's a big question all the time. Where are the fathers?
Literally, there's a bit in it. I'm going to leave for our YouTube watchers. I'm going to leave this another quote. I'm not going to read it, but basically saying that in her study she found that the minute the child was born, the dads became way more interested in external hobbies like golfing and stuff like that. It's so funny, like the minute boom, and then it's like men,
why?
Some men,
why?
But like honestly, but yeah, if you are interested in becoming a mother, I would definitely recommend that, because it's not, it's not a light decision. So please do kind of, But yes, that all being said, I still believe that I would love to be a mother, but it has given me more of a open mind about this.
Have like a 360 vision.
Yeah, and I also know that it is selfish to have a child, and Enzo may not approve. Enzo be like, you don't deserve it. Get a second dog. Don't get a baby.
3 dogs equals a baby.
Exactly. And like he'll give you like 10 arepas.
Yeah.
So but anyway, we will now have our minute. Enzo will tell us what he learned from the topic.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
And go, Enzo.
Well, we discussed a bit about this book. I didn't know it goes to all these places, and I think it's really, really important to have this type of conversation for women, but also for men. I feel like if you have like a husband or wife, whoever reads the book, I think you need to talk this with your partner, and it's been really important to discuss about like the big step to becoming, in this case, a mother, to having like a kid, because it's a really huge responsibility, and it's a complicated place to bring alive in this moment in time we're living. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important that we talk and discuss more about it, because I think women shouldn't feel bad or like judged because they don't want to. I feel like this is so like a close-minded mentality, and it goes back to the same thing, like women has to be this, women has to think that, women needs to that. So I think feel free to talk whatever you talk, and like support people, support your friends or female friends that want to like have this conversation, and don't judge them. I think it's really
done. Well done. Yeah, I think that summed it up well.
I hate that judgment. It's like, why? And even like, if you had a friend and it's like, I love my kid, but I fucking hate to being a mom because I can't sleep. That's super valid.
Can I say one more thing that bothers me about this?
Yeah, maybe. You're allowed to.
I'm a woman. I know my place. Sorry.
I gave you the permission to do it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. No, I hate the ticking clock. I find that so patronizing. Or you'll change your mind. And no, like I think that you probably are a maternal or paternal person. I don't really think that it changes that much. The ticking clock is pressure, societal pressure. It's just so condescending, like telling somebody, again, I'll get into this when I talk about marriage, but like you'll change your mind about it. Maybe somebody won't change their mind about it. Maybe they know that they don't want that. Yeah. It's so rude.
It's
so rude.
No, it's so true. Like, don't do that. It's like, it's the same. Like, why you will tell somebody like, oh, you will change your mind? Like, maybe I'm not. Don't put that pressure on me.
Maybe also, you'll change your mind.
Yeah. Well, I think things are. Maybe you will do it. I mean, things are changing for sure. Like, back in the day, our moms, they have us like really early. Yeah. Like everybody was having kids like in the 22 and 23.
Yeah.
And it was already like, oh, you're running late, like, oh, hurry up. And nowadays, like, 30s, 35. So I think now every time we're more open, and I feel like in the future, women will be more comfortable to say, I just don't want a kid. It doesn't make me less. I want to focus on, because like when a woman say, I want to focus on my career, it's like, ooh,
selfish. Ooh, cold heart.
Yeah.
Also, you know, it's like not everybody is meant to be a parent. And
that's
actually, in fact, like
fine.
it would have been better for a lot of people if they hadn't
Yes,
been parents, because then
definitely.
people wouldn't have been born into a really awful situation.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, like...
Dude, it's really interesting topic. Yeah,
Thank
should like
you.
talk more about it in the future.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
Please do. I know this is a very, very personal topic, but please do leave us a comment if you have
Or
any
like,
thoughts
yeah.
about this.
Like, I hate my kid, and then like a friend of ours is like, oh my
I
god,
have 15 dogs. I love them all.
I hate humans. I mean, yeah, whatever you feel.
That's
you can-
Enzo.
That's
This
me.
is like, I just have all the dogs.
Imagine if I have like 2 kids in the future or something like that.
I feel like you probably will. You're going to be one of those
I
dads.
change. Then I'm gonna be that person. Like,
What about if your partner, like, you meet the love of your life, and then he's like, and I do want to be a dad. We don't have to have a surrogate, but I want to
I
adopt
don't
some.
know.
I think you will.
I don't know.
I think you will.
It's such a big responsibility. I don't know if I'm up to that. Maybe I will change in a few
Expensive
years.
as well,
Yeah,
you know?
it's not like I don't. If I don't hate kids. If I hate kids, I will be like, I don't hate them. I won't have them. It's
Yeah,
not about that
no,
because I
you're
like
not.
kids.
Yeah.
They're cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see.
You know, apparently they say that you spend 30k a year on your kid. One. And so
Fuck off.
one.
I don't even spend the
Do you know how much
money on me.
nurseries are? Nurseries are like $2,000 a month. You know that?
Jesus.
Like,
no.
no.
You know, that's why when you ask me why I don't have kids, do you think that I still have a kid? I can't spend 2K on myself a month. I was spending on a little baby. I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry. No.
Well, I think Enzo's made his point perfectly clear there. We all know where Enzo
Selfish
stands.
motherfucker!
It's okay, you're a man. No one's going to ask you
True.
why you don't have
That's
babies.
true. Nobody
Me
will
on the
literally
other
ask me.
hand.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, well, thank you guys so much for watching and listening.
Interesting episode. Very different
Yes.
topics from different points of
Definitely.
view. Both controversial in different ways.
Heavy, but hopefully thought-provoking.
Hopefully. Yes.
Well, as always, like we said at the top, please do like this video, subscribe, remember to share this
Follow
episode.
us, yeah. Please share, like, if you have a Facebook, share it on Facebook. You know, you can share also on your Instagram page from Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. So please share, like, spread the voice. The voice,
Exactly.
not the word.
The voice note everywhere, the long voice
Yeah,
note
the
everywhere.
very- yeah.
Very
So
long voice
thank
note.
you very much, guys, and see you next week for a new episode.
See you
To
next
our
week.
voice note.
Bye, guys.
Bye.